those are just some of the things I wanted to address this week. Thank you.
Dr. Jagdeo, Michael Rodriguez for Daybreak News. You said political figures, not political figure, political aspirant. Azadeen Mohammed has gone across this country and making it clear that there will be no
coalition between whatever his movement is and others. But given that being said, he is making headway with opposition supporters, mostly opposition supporters. Given your government's unwillingness to address the shortcomings of Azadeen Mohammed, the criminalities of Azadeen Mohammed, is there some ploy that you're allowing him to disillusion opposition supporters and in essence, destroy the opposition effectively?
As I said last week, I don't think that with all the hype around Azadeen Mohammed, that electorally he would have any impact. And people ask me whether we are afraid of Azadeen Mohammed. That's what they were saying. There are some APNU supporters, and they were supporting him. Now that they realize that he's going to make no impact absolutely in the PPP strongholds across this country, because they see him for what he is, a criminal. And they see through all the lies and the facade that he has created surrounding himself. Now they are accusing the PPP of encouraging him to do what he has done, what he is doing, because they think he may have an impact on APNU supporters. So I don't waste too much time behind people like Azadeen Mohammed. He would be held to account for all of his criminal behavior. So there is no double standard in government where a wealthy person can smuggle gold, evade taxes, do all sorts of criminalities, and then get away consequence-free. And that ordinary people, if they just take a chain out of the country, they get caught by SOCU or some police force and get harassed. And you smuggled in 5 years 10,000 kilograms of gold, evade 50 million US in taxes. That's enough money to pay the children cash grant for 1 year. I dealt with that. And then because you feign charity, that you believe that, and try to make it look like the government effort to hold you to account is persecution, you believe you're going to get away with it. It's not going to happen. That's one. So there's no double standard. He will be held to account. And on the second matter, we have no collaboration with the Mohammeds. We are not telling him to go to no opposition base and talk to the people and mislead people there too. APNU would have to deal with that themselves. But I believe that there is collaboration between the Mohammeds, the APNU, and AFC in their warped electoral arithmetic. They somehow believe that he could help them to repeat what happened in 2011. which is a hung parliament. And it's not going to happen. That you have a parliament, in fact, they had the majority in 2011. They're hoping for that. You know, it's like when everything is going down, it's a blind hope. It has no basis in fact. And therefore, they are collaborating. They are working together for that outcome. It's not going to happen. The PPP will win and win handsomely the presidency and the majority of seats in parliament. And we will, and the opposition, it's going to quietly behind the scenes, there'll be money flowing. We've already know what's happening now, where the money is flowing from one party to others. But nothing remains quiet in this country for long. You know, we like to talk, our people like to talk. So, but that will not matter. It will not matter. So I'm dismissing all of what you said. We don't have any collaboration with Azharuddin Mohammed. 2, he will be held to account for all of his criminal acts. And 3, we have evidence of collaboration between Azharuddin Mohammed and ACNU and AFC.
Some clarity, Dr. Jagdeo. Is GRA and SOKU anyway closer to bringing charges against the Mohammeds in relation to the 10,000 kilograms of gold? I know there was
I'm not going to speak for GRA and SOKU. These are agencies that we allow to operate in a professional manner, and when they're ready, it will happen. When they're ready, it will happen. And again, he poses no threat to the PPP. So we don't need, he could run or not run, doesn't affect our chances at winning the majority in the parliament. Yes, go on.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dr. Jagdeo. Wendell Jeffrey, Channel 2 Headline News. Over the last few days, I've been doing some interviews as a part of Channel 2's Elections Insights. And I spoke with Mr. Norton in his capacity as opposition leader. And he said some of the things that will come out in their manifesto is that they will raise the threshold from $130,000 to $400,000. He also said that they will build anywhere from 160 to 200,000 homes, and that they will give the homes to low-income people on a rent-to-own basis, so that as they pay the rent, they'll be actually buying the homes. Yeah, so that's one. I want to know your take on that. I got a couple more. You want to answer that and let me come back?
Was it after he came from Bamba Mali or before he went to Bamba Mali? Because those things, anybody who says they can build in 5 years 160,000 to 200,000 homes, got to be crazy. You got to be crazy. Norton and the others are known for calling numbers. I've dealt with this earlier. I took their promises just around budget time. Sure, Wayne Holder was making some promises. Mai Paul, I see him doing fish fry in Canada. He gone to Canada to do fish fry. And I know, let me don't make a comment that I wanted to make. So Norton had made some of the promises too, at the budget time. So we took all of the promises and we costed them. And we demonstrated that to fund those promises alone, and they didn't include any infrastructure development, but just handouts to people and things like threshold, etc. The same, it's not a new figure. That it will cost twice the amount of oil money that we receive now in the 2025 budget. We did this in the past. That's why you notice I don't pay serious attention to anything they say, because anybody who will just not even do a basic calculation as to what it will cost is not worth paying serious attention to. And their biggest thing is that they don't have to do it. They just can say anything because they don't have any intention of doing any of it. Like they did, they had more modest promises in 2015, and they didn't even do those. Much less about Norton talking now about he building 200,000 homes. People, yeah, is not serious. I think he was like, he might have been in a different state.
All right. Both Mr. Winston Jordan, the former treasurer,
finance
minister, and Aubrey Norton are requesting a public debate with you or President Ali at any time of your choosing. Is that something that you would consider?
Yeah, the thing is that I would say to the president, don't waste your time. They are just looking for headlines. When you're so far back in the poll and nobody pays serious attention to you, they want us to popularize what they're saying. Nobody pays attention to what they're saying. Like nobody believes his 200,000 thing. You'd hear it, they would just discount it. They're looking for relevance. Nobody seriously except his own camp pays attention to him. You think of a serious-minded person paying attention to what Norton says or the AFC, they know that they're not gonna implement it. So what is he gonna debate us on? And we will campaign on what we have to do. The debate is not about promises. It's about credibility. If we start off by saying they rigged the elections, the 2020 elections, or they were trying to rig the elections, they have a different view on that. Where would we end in this debate? Oh, I have a view on it. Oh, you all tried to rig the elections. You're not going anywhere. In the face of all of this evidence, these people put on a shameless face and say, the PP is trying to rig the elections. What do you solve in a debate? You solve nothing there. Oh, we couldn't do all that you're doing now because we didn't have oil money. That's the next thing they would come. But you had $94 billion of increased taxes. You didn't spend a cent on infrastructure. Where did the money go? You took away the children grant. You took away the free water for the pensioners. A whole range of things. You imposed all these taxes. You add VAT on the miners. What would be the conclusion? We didn't have oil money. So it's a waste of time. I don't waste my time. I prefer to debate with the farmer or the fisherman or the miner than to waste my time being Jordan. What I told you about Jordan. The first question to Jordan would be, it's how can you transfer land, the title to a land, through an order, and you never collected money? That is an illegal act. Do you think you should go to jail for that? Winston Jordan? Ask him that. Do you think you should go to jail? Is that an offense? Is it malfeasance in public office to transfer title for a plot of land owned by the government or big plots of land without collecting payment for it? Should you go to jail for that? Do you regret saying that the 18 billion signing bonus was a gift to the government? That sort of thing. Where will you end? He would obfuscate the issue, and that's what we are talking about, character. So I'm not wasting time. I would say to President Ali, because President Ali is running, he is the candidate, and I would say to him, don't waste your time behind these people. What are you going to debate? With the criminal, you're going to debate, is it 10,000 kilograms or 9,999 kilograms of gold you smuggled out of the country? Did you have anything to do with paper short debt or not? That's what you're going to debate with these people? Nothing. It's a waste.
I hear you, Doc, and I'm not here to. I did ask.
No.
I'm with
glad
you.
You're bringing it to my attention. I'm glad though, because it gives me a chance to share my perspective on these so-called debates and all of that. People want to hear how you're going to fix their problem. More jobs, education, healthcare, leisure, security in their homes, all of that.
Okay.
I want that.
I did ask Mr. Jordan about the accusations. Some he said are thrown out, and some will be thrown out in court as it relates to the charges. I did ask him about the $18 million. He said that there's only two approaches that Exxon had, and one was to give them the money as a loan and or a gift where they would not have to repay it. And the $18 million was specific and given to the government of Guyana at the time, and it was to help with the financing of the attorneys.
Yes.
I asked those questions. He said the $18 million did not have to be repaid, and because there are only two categories that you can get money from Exxon, either as a loan or a gift. It was a gift because the government of Guyana did not have to repay it. He said the reason it was not in the consolidated fund.
So let's end there, right? So forget what it's used for. So that's the first point. So Jordan, told you that you can only get this money from Exxon through a loan or a gift. He's doubling down on the gift. Now, we have just auctioned a number of blocks. We're going to sign prospecting licenses. In the shallow water, there is a signing bonus when you sign a prospecting license, not a production license now. There is a signing bonus of $10 million US. Every time you get a license to prospect now, that's the new law. You now have to pay a 10 million signing bonus, and if it's deep water, it's 20 million signing bonus. So that's part of your revenue. So it doesn't have to come in the form of gift. You think we can say, oh, when we get the 10 million paid into the treasury, it's a gift to the government of Guyana? It's not a gift. Signing bonuses are part of the oil and gas sector when you do agreements. In fact, the size of the signing bonus, given that they were moving now to develop a massive Stabroek block, should have been, at that time, hundreds of millions of dollars maybe. Hundreds of millions. And so this is he thinks that we're so stupid that, oh, it was a gift. It wasn't gift. When people, that's part of your obligation, as part of your negotiation. So when we collect this 10 million, we'd say we got a gift from Exxon or whoever we sign with. That's how you treat revenue. And because, you know why? He didn't want to treat it as revenue, because revenue has a definition in our constitution and financial law. Every cent of revenue to the state has to be kept in three places: either the consolidated fund, two, a deposit account, but you have to notify Parliament with a deposit account that was created specially for that purpose, or 3 funds created, a fund created by special legislation, like the Lotto Fund. Only in those 3 accounts can you keep revenue of the state. They didn't deposit it in any of these accounts. They could have created a deposit fund and say this money will go towards a dedicated purpose, or create a special fund. They kept it outside of that, so it's not part of the audited accounts of the government. So he is, yeah.
Dr. Jagdeo, I really don't like this position, and I think that this...
I'm glad you're bringing it to my attention.
But because he answered that question too.
Yeah.
He said, and it's recorded, the conversation, but most parts of it was recorded, some he said off camera. He explained that that money that Exxon gave, the reason, and Exxon understood the reason, and the persons at the higher echelons of the party understood that money was mainly to pay attorneys to represent,
yes,
right, to represent. So, and he said that they did not want to put the money in the consolidated fund because they did not want it to be a discussion in Parliament, because they did not want the Venezuelans to know that they were actually building a financial war chest to represent them. So that money was given by Exxon with the full understanding.
Yeah, but
then finally, the money was eventually transferred to the consolidated fund with the incurred interest.
No, but you see, but if you were questioning him, then you would say, so is it okay for any government to hold money outside of the public purview, outside of accounts that are authorized by the Constitution or the laws of this country, for a purpose that only they and not the opposition nor the rest of the country know? No, so that is, it is a ridiculous explanation, and it could only be given to people who are not savvy. What is this war chest? If they come to the Parliament, we are paying lawyers. We have a case before the ICJ. We have to pay lawyers. They come to the Parliament and say, we want 100 million appropriated to go to pay lawyers, and it would be held in an account there, and we'd pay our lawyers from it. The Parliament, I said that already. From opposition, I said it. We will approve it immediately. That's the border issue. The reason they held the money is so they can hustle the money. That is the reason. They didn't need, everybody knows we're going to the ICJ. So don't you have to pay lawyers for the ICJ? Then you have to, if you're paying the lawyers, that was the bigger question. Anyhow, I'm not wasting my time there.
Okay, good. Yes. Finally on this.
He is trying to rehabilitate
finally on
an
this.
image where the APNU AFC was trying to steal 18 million signing bonus. The country didn't know about it for a year and a half. He said, did he have to lie to the people? Anyhow, okay.
Stop. Because when I do my interviews, and you sat for a couple of them, I interview and I try to be objective in my interviews. Yeah. He said the reason why it was not disclosed was because they did not want Venezuela to know of what they were doing. It was also the case, I'm telling you what I was told, it was
listen, this is not a conversation for you to repeat nonsense, because you're telling me what should Venezuela not know? So we are going to the ICJ. We're going to the ICJ. Venezuela had to know that we're going to the ICJ if we're filing a memorial before the ICJ, so they would know. Would we not need lawyers to take our case to the ICJ? The answer, so Venezuela would think, oh, they're gonna just not hire lawyers to take it to the ICJ. So that's public knowledge too. 3, do you have to pay the lawyers? Yes, the answer is yes. So Venezuela would know the money is coming from a hidden account. So we could pay the lawyers, we can pay tomorrow. What, have we not been paying our lawyers since then? Have we not been paying the lawyers since the money was deposited into the consolidated fund based on our taking a case to court? He didn't do it voluntarily. You asked him about that the government, the PPP, took the case to court, and then when they know they were going to lose the case, then they hurriedly deposited the money into the consolidated fund. That's one. Two, we're paying lawyers now. Where are we paying the lawyers from? It's the appropriated sums by the Parliament of Guyana. Why should we not openly pay our lawyers to fight our case at the ICJ? It's logical. Any right-thinking person would take this guy and dump him in a trench with the explanation that he's giving. And
like that.
All right.
I like that.
Let's move on.
So it also shows that maybe the debate is necessary, right?
No.
We're
not debating nonsense.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, he also said that right now the monies that were paid for the that Apple paid for the what do you call it? The credits, the carbon credits, they said that money right now is not on the consolidated, that you guys did not put that money in the consolidated fund, and you put it in a similar fund that the $18 million went into. Is that true?
This is not true. The money comes through it will go into the consolidated fund. It's audited. And then, so Ashni Singh is dealing with that issue. We sent is going to be accounted for in accordance with the Constitution and the financial laws. Statement one. Statement two is when they collected this money that they claim was a gift, the country did not know about it. A year after they had the money, were using the money, he was asked about it, and he said, "We neither requested nor did we receive a signing bonus." Go and read the newspapers. Then several months later, when we realized there was a signing bonus paid, the 18 million, he then said, "We thought it was a gift." So the moment we sold to Hess, if you get it thrown out, because sometimes in the judiciary, if you get it thrown out, because sometimes in the judiciary here, they throw out things for process. But ultimately, it's going to end up at the CCJ with convictions.
Finally, there's a talk from some folks in the upper echelons of the PNC and the coalition that AFC, that the PP is now attracting pedophiles and domestic violence perpetrators and criminals and rejects, and that the PPP, by way of the deflections, has now become a garbage party, taking all these rejects from the other parties. What's your take on that?
Yeah, the mere fact that you're representing this, I did not expect this from you. It's reprehensible that this is to call people garbage who are coming to the PP, and you're giving to this vile propaganda, racist view of people in the PPP. So the PPP is a garbage party. The people who are coming to us are scums. They're pedophiles now. They're all sorts of things. Do you know that Vanessa Kissoon accused Mr. Norton of trying to rape her? It was part of the public domain. I went back and looked at it after I said it here, and someone said to me, Oh, I don't think that was the accusation, but she was crying on the air. Look back at that and said, this is what he did. That he attempted to rape her in a vehicle by showing her his gun. If I were to call that a party, the PNC, a party of racists or rapists, or led by rapists, and all PNC people as rapists, you would see all the do-gooders suddenly being critical of me. It is this nasty view, and I want to leave the wallowers and with the PNC. Let them stay there. The people who told you that from their leadership. No, but no, you said from the PNC, the leadership. You said the leadership of that party. Well, that's the right place for them. That's the dump site. And the PPP supporters have worked hard. There are people of every race and every religion. They've worked to change this country. They're as valuable as anyone else. And when people come to us, we treat them with dignity. We respect them for who they are. Would people coming to us have trouble with the law? The answer, some of them may have, and people who are in the party may have trouble with the law. They may break the law. They have to face consequences for that. They can't act unlawfully or believe that if they're in the PPP, they'll get a free pass on the law. We don't tolerate that. But at the same time, we don't treat people like garbage. That is what they do all the time, and it's daily, the bitterness, the sourness, and I'm shocked that you would actually bring that to a forum like my press conference, that they file. I try to stay away from it. All of these people who are so bitter. Like I saw them recently, a desperate attempt. You know the part where I condemned Norman Brown for saying that the president would wash his hand with a special detergent after he shakes the hands of Afro-Guyanese. I was condemning Norman Brown. They clipped the part leaving out the condemnation of Norman Brown and said, I said that, and circulated it widely. That's the desperation, but it was a condemnation of the racism that they perpetrate. They'd have nothing else to talk about. And actually, some people report it to the cybercrime unit, because on those matters I take seriously when you promote racism in our country. That's a vile, vile thing to talk about people.
Jagdeo,
Yes.
Dennis Shabalda Marawi. Sir, in terms of the government's aggressive plans to recruit nurses and possibly other healthcare workers overseas to work in the hospitals that are being built, what percentage, or will Cuban health workers be recruited to work in those hospitals? And can you say, at this stage, what is the update with regards to Fulcrum and its involvement in the gas projects with the government and Exxon? And thirdly, with May Thomas being sanctioned by the U.S. last year, June, is she expected to be a candidate in the upcoming general and regional elections for the PPP? And lastly, when will any of the prospecting licenses be signed, and which of the companies will the signatures be with? That's it.
And the first one was
Cuban healthcare workers.
Oh, Cuban, okay,
Yes.
healthcare workers. So we're recruiting people from around the world, not confined to Cuba. But we're working to ensure that the people who come here from Cuba, that they meet the definition because of what the U.S. Secretary of State mentioned, that the conditions of work here don't run afoul of the requirements set by the United States of America. But we are recruiting from around the world. And we could have more people from other countries, much more than from Cuba. The idea is to get our own people to work in the hospitals. So we're recruiting nursing assistants and a whole range of people to do that, to do the work. But right now, we don't have enough healthcare personnel to offer the expanded level of services that will come through the opening of these new hospitals. So we have to train more of our people. We have to increase their remuneration and working conditions. And that is in train. But in the meantime, we have to fill that need with foreign recruits, not necessarily from Cuba, from any country in the world. And as we train more of our people, then we can fill the posts with our own people. That is the idea. But we don't want the service to suffer because of the shortage of Guyanese healthcare professionals. We want a good quality service until we can fill those positions with our own people. And so that is the approach to that matter. On Fulcrum, I don't think there's been much progress because we're more focused on the elections. So in any case, there'd be no agreement signed before the elections with any of these parties because it would be, I think, unethical to do so in a major project of this nature. So right now, those negotiations would go on autopilot for the time being because our attention is focused more on the elections. We have about 80 something days more for the elections, and thereafter we will return to it with vigor. We will return to it with vigor because of what it portends for the future of this country. Massive wealth creation for our people, industrialization, revenue for the state, and by extension, the people of the country, transformation of its impact will be transformational, especially for the Region 5 and Region 6. So that's the approach to the matter that we will take here on until the elections. May Thomas, we have not put out our list of candidates as yet, though people will be considering the names of the candidates. We have had suggestions from our base. We're a party that has so many names now that it has now it is hard to get down to the required level, unlike some parties that can't get candidates to go on the list because if they go on the list, they face potential sanctions or they're going on a losing list with other side. They know they're knowingly going on a losing list. We don't have that problem in the PPP. We have a ton of suggestions for people to come on list. So, but the party has not made a decision as yet. I'm meeting with the structures later this month. We've had names coming in. We have sent out our circulars. That's how we work to the group all across the country, all 10 regions, and they're submitting names of people. And then we will meet with the structures. We discuss this extensively, and then we'll make decisions.
Eligible?
I'm not going to enter into that debate. Wait on our list. You can ask me that about 20 people, whether they're eligible, whether they're not
the sanctions,
eligible.
In light of the sanctions.
Whether they're eligible or not eligible. The way I see it, I don't know. I don't think she wants to be on the list, but the way I personally see it, no, she will not be on the list. That's how I see it personally. On now, but the party, I'm general secretary of the party, but we have not debated these matters as yet.
The prospecting licenses.
The prospecting licenses. I'd ask the media to stay in touch with the ministry because they deal with the individuals concerned on a more frequent basis than I do. That is, they engage the parties a lot. So they could be able to give you an update as to where we are in every one of those negotiations. I doubt that we will sign any of those in the next maybe 2 or 3 months too. If they have not been signed as yet, I think we should await after the elections to do that. And is there anything? That's it? Okay.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jagdeo, Sharvenberger with Kite News. Just 3 quick questions. When will the remaining 20% of the Exxon block be relinquished, and why wasn't the public notified in a statement or the media notified that a 1-year extension was granted for the Kite block to the operators until 2026? The extension was reportedly granted in November.
So, as far as I'm concerned, that all of the licenses, those who have licenses or licensees, have to do relinquishment now. The time has expired for them to relinquish. I told you already, I'm not going to answer about when, etc. You deal with the ministry on a daily basis. I don't deal with routine things. When this letter came in, when that letter went out, that's Minister Vikram Bharrat. He deals with that in his ministry. I deal with policy issues of a broad nature. They deal with operational issues. Those are when letters have to be written or when people have to submit data and all of that. I just urge them to put out all of this information on their website, which I've seen progressively they've put out. So their website is now teeming with information there. But so that's where, like what I said to Dennis, you direct your attention to the ministry on those routine matters. I'm only dealing with like I just told you, on Fulcrum and the prospecting license, those 2 things are of a policy nature. So if they have not signed any of the prospecting licenses as yet, because the minister has to sign them, then I would say policy-wise, we must not sign any before the elections. And similarly with the Fulcrum. That's a policy matter, and so that's my view on the policy, because it's too near.
Okay, secondly, the arrangement in the Starbuck Block PSC, the 50-50 profit sharing, doesn't it mean that the operator and Guyana are supposed to leave with the same amount of profits, or does the formula dictate that the operators get more and Guyana leaves with less?
So if it's 50-50 profit, how would the operator?
We noticed the 2024 financials, the operators left with 10 billion and Guyana only got 2.6 billion.
Last week I answered that. I answered that question extensively. Profit is different than revenue. I'm going to only say that. Profit is different than revenue. So go back and look at the financials closely. Okay? I dealt with that last week. I'm not repeating what I said last week.
Thirdly, with elections coming up on September 1, will voters be given a chance to have their say if they would like a renegotiation of the contract or not, or will that be sometime after?
Well, that would be I saw the AFC campaigning on that now, and it's a question of believability too. So it's not just about what you say, it is a question of believability. This is coming from a party whose leader is on Exxon's payroll. So I'm not wasting time. I think those are mute issues. when you talk about the PPP's tenure in office on the oil and gas sector, I want you to think about the 1,000 odd Guyanese companies. You talk to them that have gotten now about 700 million US of procurement opportunities that they wouldn't have gotten if we didn't pass that law, that we urged APNU to pass and did not. Think about those people. Think about the 10,000 people who now have jobs in the sector. Maybe half of them would not have gotten jobs because they would have recruited foreigners. Think about our definition of a Guyanese company and how many people have been promoted into management positions because for their companies to register under the Local Content Act, they have to have a particular 75% of their staff have to be management staff, have to be Guyanese. They would have not been promoted upwards had we not put that in the Local Content Act. You look at the benefits of that and how many people, because of this government, and that's when we talk about a future. I don't deal with, like the generalized gaffe. I'm looking at real people benefiting from real things. You talk about to all the people who are busy doing apartments or the Guyanese drivers who are here now, the 600-700 of them who have a job and can take home between maybe $200,000-300,000 a month now as a driver. They would not have gotten the opportunity had we not prohibited the oil and gas companies and their first-tier contractors from bringing in foreign companies to provide transportation services. Remember the Trinidadian companies and all were coming in here and providing all the transportation services? In the new law, only Guyanese can do that. That's why our people are investing there in vehicles and drivers and everything else. They're making money there. That's what I talk about, real people. I know I'm not just playing games like AFC and APNU. 1 week they're for renegotiation, another week against it, when they are the biggest crooks and culprits that signed this agreement. We deal with real people who are benefiting from this. We are making this work for our people. All of the benefits. Yes, go on, Dennis. I wouldn't know that. But please don't make me the issue here. You have a big sanction man for 10,000 kilograms of gold that caused May to get sanctioned. And he, now it's poor May you're going after, and you'll give the old crook, yes. Yes, all right. But it's about May Thomas and the big sanction man running around all around the place, yeah. With us being sanctimonious. Yeah,
Trina Williams, Ghana Chronicle. Coming back to U.S. sanction Azudine Mohammed to be held to account. In light of reports that several individuals, including public sector workers, are receiving unsolicited calls from persons linked to Mr. Mohammed with no clear explanation as to how their private contact information was obtained, what steps are the government taking to investigate this apparent breach of privacy and to ensure that no public resources or influence are being leveraged to assist individuals currently under international sanctions?
I've seen this, and I've had the personal experience of people saying to me, we got a call from someone associated with him or him directly, and these are public officers. So either Azruddin Mohammed or members of the family or some people closely associated with him, the crook Charles Sogrim, who was with the AFC. They call people out of the blue, public officers, senior public officers, sometimes to solicit information, and at other times just ask them if they will support them. Now the people are very uncomfortable because they know from what you've seen that they record, the Mohammeds record every conversation that you have with them. So they're worried that somehow later that will surface as though you're collaborating with them. And that would put them at risk. Their families would be at risk, and they may lose their visas too. So you have a number of people who are very, very worried about this because they don't know how these guys get their information, and they're calling them. A friend of mine said 2 of his staff told him, we just got a call out of the blue, just like this. And we're very worried that somebody is either listening in to this and would think we're working with these guys, or we have anything to do with them. And so this is a very worrying thing for many people. And I suggest at the moment they call you and you don't want to talk to them, discontinue the call. If you want to talk to them, that's your business. But the moment you don't want to discontinue the call and make it known clearly, I don't want anything to do with you, because they may leave a lot of people at risk. You have already seen scores of people, literally hundreds of people who lost their visas because of association with them. And there will be many more people who may face sanctions because of them. They don't care too much about you when they leave you in the lurch. And the same thing with their list. I don't know. Anyhow, we'll deal with that at another time. But this is a very important issue because, you know, you're a public servant and you're sitting and you get a call just like that. You pick up your phone and they're calling and then they want to talk to you about something. And your job is to be polite to everyone, but at the same time, they're putting you at risk. Public servants and others don't want to lose their visas.
Also, earlier you addressed the racially charged comments towards those now endorsing the PPP. But what is your administration doing to not only protect democratic participation, but also promote respectful political engagement?
So I hope that it's, how do you tell the PNC and AFC not to use racism as a mobilizing factor? Although it's prohibited, has vast powers over political parties that use people's race as a campaigning tool, or there are laws preventing it, the Racial Hostility Act, etc. If you say to these political parties, APNO and AFC, stop using race, then what else do they have? They have nothing to talk to people about. It's only division. That's the only campaigning tool that they use. And so, in as much as they will sign declarations, so GCOM will come up with declarations, code of conduct, etc. They will sign on to these declarations and then go right back the next day back to the racial campaigning that they are doing. And they are, it's everybody. As I said before, people, Afro-Guyanese may think that they care. Ordinary Afro-Guyanese have no place in that party too. If you're part of this small group, the cabal, and we saw it in the last storm, we saw it, the cabal, then you'll benefit everything from them. I met with some people, tomorrow I'm going to Linden, and I met with some people a few weeks ago, and they were relaying their experience to me about what happened under the PNC, on the APNU AFC, the 5 years that were there. These are hardcore supporters of the PNC. And they said, it's Jordan neighbors from Georgetown who got the land there in Linden, prime properties. It's Amanza and her family it's the Figueras and their family, it's low and fee. They didn't get a single house lot. We have a massive program to do roads and stuff, nothing there. The jobs disappeared. So that is their experience in Afro-Guyanese communities. And as I said before, with other communities, you heard what they just say. The Indo-Guyanese, Amerindians, etc., they're garbage people too. That's how they think. Some are lick bottoms and other things, and others are garbage people. That's what they campaign on. So how do you get them to move away from that? I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. They just would not focus on real issues. Every day it's about race. Just look at it. And I just heard about it coming from leadership. Members in the leadership just heard a question. It's not a few ordinary supporters who are outliers. Just a racist outlook to everything. So that is what. Let me see, those who, let's see how it goes. Yes.
Suggesting that the administration has not been on the ground or even responsive, which we know is not true given that since in opposition, the party has been on the ground. However, how is the government addressing these misrepresentations and what—
Who said that? Oh, I don't want to waste time being sanctioned man all the time. Yes, he said we have not been on the ground. He has been on the ground smuggling gold out of the country and all of that. That's what he's been doing on the ground. I know we've been on the ground in opposition and in government. In fact, Irfan Ali gets criticized too much for being on the ground. We have engaged people. He goes a couple of places and in a stupid, inept way, he tries to get people to say these things. It doesn't work. Anybody who has been looking at what's going on across the country would see that we've been on the ground. We've addressed people's concerns. You'd go and say, oh, I want you to build a house, and they're taking down names. The couple of houses that he built and gave to people is nothing compared. This charity was all for a purpose. It was to save his ass from prosecution. He knew he was doing criminal things, and this is all a cover. So I'm not wasting my time behind him. Yeah. Yes, Marcel.
It's just a clarification, by the way, for two things. On the crossovers, when you spoke about repudiation of the party, PPP not asking, I'm asking as General Secretary of the PPP, when you have crossover candidates from the APNU, the discussion is never about the rigging of those elections. I ask because how does one expect your own supporters to trust persons crossing over when there are no discussions or no, as you would put it, they're repudiating those alleged riggings that you so condemn?
So the first thing is, there seems to be this enhanced interest in large because people are coming to the PPP. Let me tell you this, as General Secretary, you asked me about the issue, and let me return to it. I'm pleased as General Secretary that our party is attractive to more and more people who have come to us. I am grateful and eternally grateful to our supporters who have stuck with us through the hard times. And they continue to be valuable supporters of the People's Progressive Party. The number of people who have crossed us has been sizable, and it did not start only recently. We should have had the same conversation a few years back when you saw us moving in New Amsterdam from 2 seats out of 14 to 6 out of 14. That conversation should have started when you see increased votes in Linden by 2,500 votes, and in Georgetown, when we won Bartica, when we won Madia. But if the media had given that prominence, it would have run contrary to the propaganda that they spread, that the PPP is an Indo-Guyanese party. So they covered it up. They don't want to give it prominence to show that we're truly a multiracial party, the only one in the country, because it will kill the narrative that PNC, APNU, AFC, all along since 2015, they were saying they're multiracial. So the media, especially those hostile to us, stayed quiet on that. The crossover didn't happen recently, and it's a large number of people. So now recently you see people more prominent. You've had like Sean from Region 6. He was a councillor there for the region. He campaigned with us in the local government elections, PNC councillor. Not much attention was paid to him. There are several senior people in APNU who were supporting us. Many people who worked us. How would you treat Carl Greenidge? Was he a crossover? He was working with the PPP government, being paid by the PPP government, the ambassador to Venezuela. A lot of people were coming to us because of our policies, but they were also performing, duties for the country. Of recent, we've had people who have been holding some more prominent positions, and the focus is on them. I'm focusing on the large number of people who have come to us as General Secretary of the party. I can't just focus on the few who have come recently, because we work from day one. You recall in opposition, I said that our party is strong in the Indo-Guyanese communities, strong in the Amerindian communities. We're going to work to maintain and grow this support in those communities. But in Afro-Guyanese communities, we've been weaker, and I gave the reasons because of this racist propaganda that the PPP is racist. And so we work in opposition, we work at this, and in government, and it has been yielding results. People come to us, they see the true heart of our party. So as General Secretary, I have to be concerned about this. When you talk about mass exodus, I'm not talking about only the few. I'm talking about many activists, people who've come from Melanie South and Melanie North with large groups, party groups who are now working on the ground, who have come from Linden or from Craig to see me, and they form all Afro-Guyanese groups. These are farmers who are pro-PPP, working the ground from the highway. So they came unheralded. They don't need publicity. They're working on the ground because they think we are changing their communities and growing. That's what I look at as General Secretary. So you're asking me to comment now on the few who came recently and whether they repudiated the rigging pass. I'm coming to what you asked me, Marcel. I just wanted to give you the view. Since you asked me as General Secretary of the party, I'm telling you my concern. I have to build a stronger party, and we're doing so, and a multi-ethnic party consistent with our philosophy from the 50s Jedijagan philosophy. And we're doing so, and we're successful at it. And so we're getting stronger everywhere on the ground, in every region, in every community. We're getting groups of people now supporting. And so I'm pleased that of recent, some of the leaders of political parties who have contested elections, who have come to us. Lennox Schumann contested on his own, and he came to us because he saw what we're doing in the Amerindian communities. Asha Kisoon had her own party. She came to the PPP now, and she cited the reason why. The Shaz Ali from, I think, TCI, they came to us because they believe we're working for the country now. Where I saw Mr. Alicock from GAP now has come to the PPP, and then several others from AFC and APNU. Leonard Craig made it clear. He said, we were given speaker's notes and we were told we won the elections. Like so many ordinary APNU supporters, you would hear, if you look at the girls from West Romfeld, they felt that APNU won the elections. They were crying, and they were recounting experience. Their parents now, many of them who are working, are supporting the PPP now. Large cells in West Romfeld and East Romfeld. They told me, we actually felt, we were told by our leaders that we won the elections and PPP stealing the election. That was their party telling them there. Craig said openly that we were given the point marching orders to talk about things. They didn't see the SOPs. They were told that they won. Now, a person like who saw the SOP, Patterson said he saw the SOP and that the SOP showed they won the elections. Those are the kinds of people I'm talking about. And Norton saying the same thing. A lot of the people who have come to us, they were not part of the inner circle that was trying to rig the elections, but they were supportive of their party. Now, I made the point earlier that how come it wasn't so important for them to repudiate that history before they came to the PPP. When they come to the PPP, they're coming to a party that believes strongly about democracy. So if they come with a rigging pass, they hope it will not work with us. They know what they're coming towards. They're coming with a party that believes in free and fair elections. Every vote must be counted, and that we will fight to preserve elections. They know this knowingly. And therefore, I'm not going to run down people. I'm not going to run down people to go out there. If they want to on their own, they can say it. They can say what they believe, like Leonard Craig spoke about it. Came from the AFC, how his own experience within the party and what they were told. And they've been doing this. But we're not going to do one thing. We're not going to get people. You don't have to run down Norton or run down anybody else if you want to support the PPP. We take you at your word. Doesn't mean that, and we embrace people too. Some people who have come to us, and there are thousands, literally. Some may come only because they believe they can get something, and others and many others are happy with our vision. We recognize that as a party, but we're pleased that this is happening. And so, Marcel, I'm not going to harass the people who are coming to us. I saw the other side picking up endorsement. Norton picked up an endorsement from Harry Paul, who was working in the office of the president under Granger. I saw this morning, like Ramatar had to put out a news that some fake news that Ramatar endorsed Nigel Hughes. I saw Donald Ramatar put on his page, it's not true, it's fake. Check Ramatar's page today. Nobody is endorsing them. And they should be going after those people, the ones who are remaining there, the ones who keep lying about the elections, like Patterson and Nigel Hughes. But they get a free pass from the media.